Hi, this is Frank. I've prepared your North Dakota Hazmat briefing, covering the essential federal and state safety protocols required for transporting hazardous cargo across the Peace Garden State. From oilfield petroleum to agricultural anhydrous ammonia, these rules are vital for keeping our highways safe. What federal regulation governs hazmat transport by road in North Dakota? 49 CFR Parts 100 to 185. These hazardous materials regulations are administered by PHMSA to ensure uniform safety standards nationwide. Next question. What state agency enforces hazmat transportation on North Dakota highways? North Dakota Highway Patrol. They work in strict coordination with federal PHMSA and FMCSA inspectors to monitor compliance at weigh stations and roadside checks. Let's move on. What endorsement permits a CDL holder to transport hazmat in North Dakota? H endorsement. To earn this, you must pass a written knowledge test and undergo a federal TSA threat assessment. Next point. What federal agency conducts the hazmat endorsement background check? TSA, Transportation Security Administration. The TSA reviews your history to ensure you do not pose a security risk before the endorsement is granted. Let's keep going. How often must the TSA threat assessment be renewed? Every 5 years. This regular recertification is necessary to maintain your legal status for hauling sensitive materials. Next question. Who is ineligible for a hazmat endorsement in North Dakota? A person who is not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, or has certain felony convictions within 7 years. These security standards are strictly enforced to protect critical infrastructure. Let's move on. What are the 9 hazard classes? Class 1 explosives, Class 2 gases, Class 3 flammable liquids, Class 4 flammable solids, Class 5 oxidizers, Class 6 toxic, Class 7 radioactive, Class 8 corrosive, Class 9 miscellaneous. Identifying the correct class is the first step in proper placarding. Next point. What is the hazmat table in 49 CFR used for? Identifying materials by proper shipping name, UN numbers, hazard classes, packing groups, and label requirements. This table is the master key for every legal hazmat shipment. Let's keep going. What is the proper shipping name, PSN? The official name in the hazmat table used on shipping papers, markings, and placards. You must use the exact technical name listed, not a generic or brand name. Next question. What must appear on a hazmat shipping paper? Proper shipping name, UN number, hazard class, packing group, total quantity, and 24-hour emergency contact. These details are required for every regulated load you pull. Let's move on. Where must shipping papers be when the driver is in the cab? Within immediate reach in the seat or door pouch. They must be accessible even if you are restrained by a seatbelt during an emergency. Next point. Where must shipping papers be when the driver exits the vehicle? In clear view on the driver's seat or door pouch, visible from outside. This allows emergency responders to identify your cargo even if you are not with the vehicle. Let's keep going. What is required of the emergency contact number on a shipping paper? Monitored 24 hours by someone knowledgeable about the material and able to provide response guidance. This ensures help is always one phone call away. Next question. What is Chemtrec and what is its number? A 24-hour chemical emergency response center at 1-800-424-9300. They provide immediate technical guidance to drivers and first responders during a spill. Let's move on. What is the National Response Center, NRC, and when must it be called? The Federal Center at 1-800-424-8802, notified immediately when a reportable quantity is released. The NRC coordinates the multi-agency response to major incidents. What is a reportable quantity, RQ? An EPA-designated amount that, if released, requires immediate federal notification. The specific amount varies depending on how hazardous the substance is to the environment. Let's keep going. What does RQ before a material name on shipping paper mean? The load contains a hazardous substance at or above the EPA reportable quantity. This notation is a direct signal that any spill must be reported to the NRC. Next question. What are placards and what size must they be? Diamond-shaped sign at least 10.8 inches per side placed on all 4 sides of the vehicle. These provide a high visibility warning to everyone on the road. Let's move on. On how many sides must placards be displayed? All 4 sides, front, rear, and both lateral sides. This ensures the hazard is identifiable from any direction. Next point, what distinguishes a placard from a label? Placards are large 10.8-inch diamonds on the vehicle. Labels are small 4-inch diamonds on individual packages. Labels identify the specific package, while placards identify the whole load. Let's keep going. When does a Table 1 hazmat require placarding? Any quantity, even a single package, regardless of weight. Materials like poison gas and explosives 1 are so dangerous they always require a warning. Next question. When does a Table 2 hazmat require placarding? At 1,001 pounds or more present in vehicle. For these materials, the placards are required only once you cross the 1,000-pound threshold. Let's move on. When is the dangerous placard used? When 2 or more Table 2 categories total 1,001 pounds and no single category individually requires its own placard. It is a way to flag a mixed load of regulated materials. Next point, what does PGI indicate? Greatest danger, requiring the most stringent packaging. The packing group, PG, tells you how robust the container must be to prevent leaks. Let's keep going. What is a poison inhalation hazard, PIH, material? A gas or liquid toxic when inhaled, requiring a toxic inhalation hazard placard plus any other required placard. These materials are lethal in small amounts and require extreme caution. Next question. What is the URG and where must it be kept? A dot publication for first responder guidance, kept in the cab accessible to the driver at all times. The Emergency Response Guidebook is your primary tool for managing the first 30 minutes of an incident. Let's move on. What does the orange section of the URG contain? Materials listed numerically by UNID number cross-referenced to guide pages. This is the fastest way to find safety instructions if you only have the 4-digit ID number. Next point, what does the green section of the URG contain? Initial isolation and protective action distances for toxic inhalation and water-reactive materials. This tells you how far to evacuate people to keep them safe from toxic clouds. Let's keep going. What is the correct action when a hazmat leak is found during transport? Stop safely away from people, notify emergency services, and follow URG without attempting personal repair. Never put yourself in danger trying to fix a chemical leak. Next question. What North Dakota specific reporting is required after a hazmat incident? Immediately notify the NRC and North Dakota Highway Patrol if a reportable quantity is released, and file a PHMSA written report within 30 days. Both state and federal agencies must be kept in the loop. Let's move on. What North Dakota specific concern affects hazmat transport in winter? Extreme cold, black ice, and blowing snow that can create whiteout conditions. Drivers must be ready to stop safely and monitor road closures constantly during the winter months. Next point, what applies to hazmat transport of agricultural chemicals and oil field materials in North Dakota? Heavy transport of anhydrous ammonia, fertilizers, and petroleum products requires full 49 CFR hazmat compliance regardless of cargo type. In North Dakota, these daily loads are treated with the same seriousness as any other hazard. Let's keep going. Where is parking a loaded hazmat vehicle prohibited? Near flames, within 300 feet of tunnels, bridges, or buildings, and near crowds unless an emergency exists. Keeping these distances minimizes the impact if the cargo were to ignite. Next question. What attendance rule applies to Division 1? 1, 2, or 3 explosives? Must be attended at all times by someone aware of the hazard and able to move the vehicle. You can never leave high explosives sitting alone on the side of the road. Let's move on. What is the minimum convoy distance between vehicles carrying Division 1 explosives? At least 300 feet. This spacing prevents one blast from triggering a secondary explosion in a following truck. Next point, what hazmat route requirements apply in North Dakota? Federally designated routes, NDDOT approved corridors, and local authority routes. Certain materials may be restricted from crossing specific bridges or entering populated town centers. Let's keep going. What is notable about US 2 and I-94 for North Dakota hazmat drivers? There are primary hazmat corridors where compliance is actively checked at weigh stations and inspection points. Expect frequent interactions with the Highway Patrol on these routes. Next question. What is a Local Emergency Planning Committee, LEPC, in North Dakota? A community body coordinating local hazmat response. Carriers may need to notify them for certain high-risk shipments. The LEPC ensures the local fire department knows what is coming through their town. Let's move on. What is EPCRA and how does it apply to North Dakota hazmat carriers? The Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, requiring release reporting and information sharing. This law ensures that communities are prepared for potential chemical risks. Next point. What is a security plan and who is it? A written and required for of high-consequence dangerous goods covering personnel and shipment security. It is designed to prevent hazardous cargo from being used as a weapon. Let's keep going. What are high-consequence dangerous goods, HCDG? Materials that could cause mass casualties if weaponized, including certain explosives and latent hazards. These loads require highest level driver vigilance. Next question. What must a driver do if the shipment appears tampered with? Do not move the vehicle, notify law enforcement and the carrier immediately, and follow the security plan. Tampering is a potential security threat that must be investigated before you proceed. Let's move on. What is the compatibility rule for loading multiple hazmat classes? Certain classes must be segregated because they react dangerously, e.g., explosives cannot be loaded with corrosives. Mixing incompatible chemicals can cause fires or explosions inside your trailer. Next point. What must a driver do if asked to load incompatible materials? Refuse the load. As a driver, you are legally obligated to reject any cargo configuration that violates segregation rules. Let's keep going. What fire extinguisher is required on a North Dakota CDL hazmat vehicle? At minimum, A10B, C extinguisher or 25B, C units in the cab accessible to the driver. You must ensure these are fully charged and ready for immediate use. Next question. What is the penalty for hauling hazmat without a valid endorsement in North Dakota? Federal and state fines, CDL disqualification, and possible criminal charges. This is a serious violation that can end your career. Let's move on. What is the maximum federal civil penalty for a serious hazmat violation? Up to $84,107 per day per violation. Note that as of 2026, these federal penalties are adjusted annually for inflation and can now exceed $100,000 for certain major infractions. Next point. What does a white diamond placard with a black propeller symbol indicate? Class 7 radioactive material. This signifies that the load is emitting radiation and requires specific handling and distance protocols. Let's keep going. What does a red placard with a white flame indicate? Class 3 flammable liquid or Class 2 Division 2. 1 flammable gas. This is one of the most common placards you will see in the North Dakota oil fields. Next question. What does a yellow placard